done.
These feeders, where do you get those feeders from? Those are
They are actually produced in New Jersey with Cull, K-U-H-L, and I buy most of my supplies when I need to buy things like that from Smith's Poultry and Game Bird out in Kansas.
We use Cutlers.
They're the same thing, but Terry Smith's a nice person. I've dealt with them for a long time, and I know they raise game birds too. So, yeah. So that's kind of one of the things that I've done with them.
You got the slatted.
Yeah, there's a newer box there. That one's made. A lot of those I make out of either Western red cedar, or I've made quite a few out of. They're a lot heavier, but they're made out of cypress. I found a pretty good source of cypress wood. They use a lot of cypress lumber in the mushroom industry in making their boxes and shelves that they actually grow the mushrooms in because it doesn't rot. So, you know, I forget what I paid for them.
You need to build aviaries out of that.
Yeah, yeah.
But you got this old style.
Yep.
And it lasts.
Yep.
The new stuff.
It's off the ground. It's not as bad.
But you know, we got some new stuff down south, and it's all rotted. Everything's rotted. You know, 4 or 5 years, it needs to be replaced.
These the bicles are in here, and there's a couple extra birds. There's one, a Gargany drake, a young one from that I've actually got to get to somebody up in Massachusetts, and then one of the wood ducks has gone down south with me. Here, hand it to me. I'll take it. Put it behind. And that box, that style of box, which there's one right there with the lats in it. That I got that idea. Helen, was it Gray?
Helen Gray, yeah.
Yeah. She actually sent me. I bought some birds from her, some bicles from her, and she sent me the plans for that box, or at least some pictures, and then I made it from that. But they like them.
The idea with this is
they can
that
see
they can
out
see
of
out like it's
like they're in grass. Yep.
Yep. And then this is the old porch style nest boxes.
And I have very few use it for some reason. I don't know why. Now, if I had it in with the ringtail, they might use it if I had it up higher.
I used them years back, and I actually liked them. And then I haven't used them since, just because they're more complicated to build than a regular. So, anyhow, Bill Grohr came up last year, and he built these boxes out of PVC. PVC, it's like plywood sheet, 4x8. He cut them up, and he made some of these things. And tell you what, the goldeneyes loved it.
Oh, really?
So I actually bought some of that PVC, but that's expensive.
I had some, and one of the problems I have here is it gets too hot, and if they're exposed to the sun, sometimes that stuff will buckle and work.
He actually painted this thing.
Oh, interesting.
It was actually, the goldeneye, like I said, it was in the middle of summer. I mean, it was in June that the goldeneye was sitting on eggs, and everything worked out fine. So I got a piece of it. I haven't gotten around to cutting it up, but I'm going to give that a whirl too. Nice thing is, if I split it with a screw, I'm going to glue it anyway. So we'll see.
This is just one of the electric chargers. It's a solar, so I don't have to worry about pulling electric out here. I just put a solar system in, and it works pretty good.
So,
they're about $100, maybe $110 or something.
So back when we were younger, they used to just have a big battery. Remember those big batteries?
Yep.
This saves so much.
At one point, I had these Gallagher chargers, which are a New Zealand charger. We told if you hit that one, we'd put you on your butt.
We got some of the same make down south, and you get grounded right, and you are literally on your butt on those things.
Yeah, you never trust your siblings when they tell you, "Look, it's off."
or you don't trust Dad.
Or Dad, yeah.
You got quite a few ringtail in here, huh?
Yeah, I got some ringtail. There's a trio of green wings, some hoodies, and lutinistic Bahamas. Like I said, I've been looking for regular Bahamas, and I haven't found any. So I found
never asked me, huh?
No, I never thought about that.
we usually raise quite a few of them a year. So.
I had one pair for a long time, and she would double clutch, and I'd raise 20 ducklings out of her.
Yeah, we just can't seem to get that many out, but we get some out, a bunch of them out every year, but never that many on one hen, definitely. And then the ringtail laying yet?
They're starting to bag up a little bit. And the hoodies are starting to bag.
We had a hen down south. We actually didn't raise any this past year. Last year we raised a couple of them. Did we? No, we did raise some.
Late.
2.
They were late. I remember seeing them in your.
Yeah. That's right. So, but anyhow, we had this one hen a couple of years ago. She raised like, I don't even know, like 50 chicks out of her. She laid like 70 or 80 eggs in one season.
They can be really, really productive, and I like them. They're one of my favorite ducks. I like them and ruddy ducks. I like the best as far as their behavior and stuff.
So, do you have any problems with we actually quit keeping ringtail up in New York. I say that, and I got 3 hens up there right now, but they're going down south here shortly. But we have a lot of problems with West Nile with them.
Haven't had an issue.
Avian malaria is another one.
Haven't had an issue. I've been lucky. Every now and then you lose a bird, but one thing I've found is with ducks is if you get something bad in there, it can be real bad. But for the most part, you don't have a lot of. You occasionally might lose a bird, but
yeah, we don't even ringtail. We don't even keep them up north. Same thing with Brazilian teal. We've tried it. Chestnut teal also. That's the same thing. West Nile just annihilates them.
But West Nile's here, and like I said, the fact that I have great horned owls around right now, I know it's not real because it would take them out first.
Yeah. So I don't. I won't keep the ringtails up there. There's a few species I won't keep up there. I could vaccinate, and it is funny that I guess it's kind of like this, lice or parasites or whatever. You have some birds that are susceptible and some birds that aren't susceptible, even on an individual basis. So we get that up in New York. We don't, so I don't even mess with it. I do have red-breasted geese up in New York, and I've kept Andean geese, which are both susceptible to West Nile virus, particularly. We vaccinate them, and it keeps the.
Well, I had that's one species that I loved and wanted to have so bad. And I got 2 pair of red-breasted geese, 3 of them in a 2-week period. And I know it was West Nile. I never had it checked, but I know. It was just boom, boom,
yeah,
boom.
I mean, you know, based on the time of year and everything.
But I didn't know. Nobody said anything. I never heard. It's just like, one of the things, I consider myself a relatively small guy with all this and more of a hobby, kind of, and a lot of people that get into it are more like me probably, but with some of those species, again, knowing some of those things up front would really help new people.
So, West Nile vaccine, as you know, it's not cheap. It's not approved for birds.
Nope, and it's not cheap.
It's not approved for birds, but it does work. In fact, there have been studies, and I've said this, I don't even know how many times. There's been some studies on, grouse, with vaccinations and stuff. And I'm not going to repeat all that, but if you vaccinate, 90% of them are going to live through West Nile virus. If you don't vaccinate, if you have an outbreak, you can lose 90% of your population. And even though that's a horse vaccine, you use the whole dosage of it on the bird, and
which is pretty amazing. It's a fairly large dose too. But it would help with my wife being a vet. If I needed to get it, but
yeah. Well, I mean, you can order that over the counter. Too, so that's not
it's not like rabies.
So, but this is the thing. Okay, and you mentioned the price is expensive. It's like probably $25, maybe $30 a vial now. I mean, if you go to Tractor Supply, it's got to be $30 a vial. But if you're looking at a goose that costs you $500 or $600,
it's cheap.
It's cheap.
It's cheaper than losing them.
And you will lose them if you're in the right.
It hurt when I lost those 3.
Yep. So try them again and get some. Start vaccinating.
It's mainly the shell ducks and geese that a lot of the shell ducks and geese are susceptible.
The shell geese especially. Yes.
Yeah.
So we actually do all of the. We haven't had any issues in North Carolina, but our facility up in New York, anytime we've kept shell geese, we've had issues with West Nile. So our most recent shell geese we've kept up in New York. We've kept the Lesser Magellans up there and the Andean geese, and we vaccinated all of them. And I'm going to tell you right now, these ashy heads are the ashy headed geese they're a bird that has been kept, for probably 25 years in America. One of the reasons is they were never readily bred. They never readily bred, at least here in America. And I also believe that one of the other reasons is, well, there's other things. They're susceptible to toxins, mold toxins and stuff like that. So they have a higher sensitivity than some of the other birds. But then the third thing is West Nile, took a hit on them. So now a bunch of people have brought in, there's a bunch of ashy-headed geese in America. But my fear is people aren't going to want to spend the money to vaccinate them. And that's going to be that's going to be the key to keeping this species going in America. Yeah, there's other management issues, but with West Nile on the front, it's going to be a big problem. And so most of these birds that I can foresee in 5 years, even though we've got probably several dozen pairs in America now, they're just going to go by the wayside, before they get it going.
One other thing I wanted to mention too about nest box placement too, because I think that's another thing that a lot of people think about. I try to put them in various directions. I don't try to make, like some people think that for a cavity nester they should be facing the water.
So they did a study on
the
cavity nesters. They did a study in the wild, and I'm sure you've probably read this before. If you face them all toward the wild, you're more apt to get dump nests. So, but if you face them at different directions, they'll, the birds are not as likely to dump nest.
The other thing I try to do is if I have 4 pair of birds that are going to use cavity nest in a pen, I'll make sure I have 5 or 6, because like I said, all my groups are colony groups. So I try to keep my woodies fairly by themselves, and my straight mandarins pretty much by themselves. Maybe a pair of teal or something there, but not a lot of different stuff, because they tend to be more aggressive than some of these other birds. The silver woodies are an exception,
right.
But for the most of them, I don't try to put them with a whole bunch of other stuff, because my pen's down below, and this total pen, which has 3 sections in it. 2 of the sections are 16 by 32 and one's 16 by 16 in the middle where the bicles are. But the other one, so the whole pen is 16 by 8. And then I built another one down below. We can go take a look at that one real quick and see what's back there.